Joining us is Elizabeth Dickinson, Deputy Director for Latin America at the International Crisis Group. Thank you for being with us here on France 24.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
What do you make of this one day Donald Trump saying that Gustavo Petro better watch his behind, and now welcoming him to the White House?
You know, really, since Trump has taken office, Petro and Trump have each in one another found a perfect sparring partner for their own political agendas. Trump, on numerous occasions, has used Petro as a way to send messages to Latin America about the price of not cooperating with his agenda in terms of sanctions, in terms of tariffs, and of course, with the threat of military force parked right in the Caribbean. I think Gustavo Petro has also used this spat for his own agenda. We are entering an electoral cycle here in Colombia. And I think, you know, being a critic of clear policies like migration, the war in Gaza, the attacks on suspected drug boats, that has played well with his base. And both men, I think, have used this fight to their advantage. Now, after the operation in Caracas a month ago now to arrest Nicolas Maduro and his wife in Venezuela, I think the dynamic changed significantly because now we understand, and in fact, the entire region is on notice, that the U.S. threat to use military force is not just words, it is about action. And I do think that that caused a shift in the thinking in Petro's administration, and really a sense of urgency about amending this rhetorical dispute.
Just to remind our viewers, Elizabeth, Gustavo Petro in a previous life had been a hostage at the hands of drug dealers, Colombia and the United States, which together had fought against the drug trafficking trade for decades. Where does it go from here?
You know, I really want to underline something very clear. We have, of course, this high-level political dispute, and in many ways, that's just noise to the fact that the bilateral relationship and cooperation in counter-narcotics has never stopped. Colombia is Washington's strongest ally in the region. These are two military and security forces that are integrated in their fight against drug trafficking. They share intelligence. They jointly plan operations. And, you know, I think below this noise at the top, really that has continued. And Colombia continues to be the anchor of Washington's counter-narcotics policy across the region. So this has all been a bit of a distraction. For me, a successful outcome of this meeting would frankly be that it's a bit boring, that we go back to doing the hard work that these two countries have done together for many decades and has not ceased during the Trump administration or during Petro's administration, despite disagreements about some of the details. Particularly, as your correspondent mentioned, there is a disagreement about how best to go about countering these drug trafficking organizations. Gustavo Petro has very much emphasized that he would like to target these groups higher up in the supply chain, closer to the people who are making the big bucks. So that means seizures, it means interdiction. Whereas the White House looks at the satellite images of coca. Coca is the raw material that is used to produce cocaine, and sees that there is more coca growing in Colombia than at any point in recent history, and wants to see that eradicated. This is a disagreement really about the way to combat a problem, but both countries agree that it is fundamental, not just to Colombia's stability, but to the broader region.
Elizabeth Dickinson, you mentioned one is a great foil for the other. What about for the successors? And I ask the question because he's term limited, Gustavo Petro. You have a presidential election in the spring, and the polls are inconclusive.
That's right. And I think that Petro wants to demonstrate with this meeting that he, as a left-leaning leader in Latin America, is capable of managing the relationship with the United States. The stakes for Colombia are enormous. Not only is the United States the most significant military and security partner, but it's also the country to which Colombia exports the most goods. It's the most important economic relationship, commercial ties, cultural interchange, the number of Colombians who have studied in the United States, American businesses who have a presence here in Colombia, the stakes are very high. And I think Petro wants to demonstrate, as political successors of his will be entering the electoral cycle, that this is not a partisan relationship, but rather something that the left can also manage.
We've seen the Trump administration weigh in on elections, most recently in Honduras, and we've seen a bit of a winning streak for fans of Donald Trump, the latest example being Costa Rica, where the far right has won the presidential poll. How does that bode for Abelardo de la Espriella, who's one of the candidates, hails from the far right? Is the White House actively canvassing for him?
So I think we are concerned about how the White House will interact with Colombia's election. And certainly it is our expectation that Trump will make his opinion known about the candidates. I should say that we're very early in the electoral cycle here, and even the identity of the candidates is not clear yet. We don't know exactly what this vote will look like. But I would say that the Trump effect can go both ways in the region. I think it's far too early to say that there's a right wave sweeping across Latin America. Yes, in Costa Rica, you did have this change really in this tilt towards the right. Costa Rica, of course, facing a significant security crisis with drug trafficking, but also the proliferation of small criminal groups in the country. But Colombia has been doing this for a long time. Colombia is a country that has lived for more than half a century fighting against organizations that enrich themselves through drug trafficking. And I think that the experience of Colombia is much more politically diverse in the sense about the ways to go about attacking that problem. We've seen the Trump effect have the opposite impact in places like Ecuador, where the president lost a referendum that the United States had actively supported. So it's far too clear to call the shots in terms of where this vote will go in May in the presidential election.
Elizabeth Dickinson, so many thanks for joining us from Bogota.
Thanks to you.
Stay with us. There's more to come, more news, plus the day's business and sports.